I'm Defna.
And I'm Pena.
Today we're going to talk about realist theory in international relations.
And this is Global Politics in 10 minutes.
Representé!
More than a dozen.
There's 13 men. Plenty of companies.
3.5 years.
31.
So as you can see on the screen, this is the presentation that we're going to talk upon.
And this is a brief video overview. The basic things we're going to be talking about is background of the realist theory, basic assumptions, types of realism, and basically a conclusion, like where does realism stand right now?
So to begin with, what is realism? So it's actually a school of thought that emphasizes on the conflictual and competitive side of politics. It's based on power and competition and conflict. The background of it actually dates back to the early foundings of history, but as you might know, the word theory itself is like a really current phenomenon. It didn't exist before, but when we say the glimpse of realism are old, we're not talking about the theory itself, but like the terms and the basics of it.
Yeah, because theory is just a newer term in our dictionaries.
And international relations, like the school itself, is like really new.
Yeah. So what does realist theory really suggest? It suggests that the humankind is egoistic and selfish, self-centric, and competitive, which leads to conflicts amongst them
other
all.
States
and states are basically rooted by these human nature, which we're going to be talking about. So states are competitive, and there are conflicts between states, and these are inevitable. Yeah. So starting with the basic assumptions, the first assumption is that state-centricism. State-centricism is basically the belief that states should be prioritizing their own needs and
their own national interests.
Yes, and above others. This should be their priority.
Now, moving with the second, as Per talked before, states actually authoritize and prioritize their own national interests, and they kind of regulate and control. They have an authority and control over their society, and this is what we called state-centricism and statism. I think there's like a term called statism too.
Okay. Now moving on to international anarchy. This is basically a thing like within the states, there are police or military forces or courts, and we go to these and we expect something from these. We have expectation from these.
They're seeking the security of the state.
Yes, in the international area, realists believe that there shouldn't be a power above the state to control these security, and this leads to international anarchy, which means that basically states are the most powerful image or something like that in the international area. So there shouldn't be any IGOs, like intergovernmental organizations. So they basically believe that.
And in the lack of these forces that we count, there will be anarchy, and this is kind of inevitable for the claims of realists.
Yeah. Now, moving on to power politics.
So what power politics is actually, it's a term that provides a way of understanding systems of international relations, and it's like they're all the same actually. It's again state prioritizing its own interests and its own
power
needs and
power, actually.
Yes, and power, but especially the term power politics stands for states threatening other states using their power and kind of showing off their power, because as we're going to talk, human nature is evil, selfish, and self-centric. So do the state. And when in this case states are kind of trying to prove that they're powerful, and there will be a war if the other states do something in response. And that's just what power politics basically is.
Yeah, and that leads to our next basic assumption, which is security dilemma. As Daphne said, there is a power politics going on, and this leads to states acting whatever whatever they want. They can attack you at any moment in time. So there is a security dilemma in the international area, and realists believe that this is also inevitable. But we're going to be seeing how we exist in these situations.
Also, in international area, we have NGOs, IGOs, and all this stuff, and they all have their own leaders and like guiders. But when these guiders exist, there will be a conflict because there are multiple bodies that have the power. So there's an obvious conflict between these bodies.
Yeah. The three S's of realism are basically the brief thing. If you want to go in depth with realism, you want to search about it, you can search these terms and you'll be understanding most of the realism.
And actually there's no need to search, because when you hear the terms state-centricism, survival, and self-help, you have guesses about it, because it's pretty self-explanatory, I think.
Yeah, and self-help is basically, we haven't talked about it, but like a state depending on its own resources and like basically helping itself. So there are 6 principles of political realism, which we've already talked about. We're just going to be going over them for the one last time. And so basically politics is governed by objective laws, which are actually rooted by the human nature, which we've talked about, like egoistic, selfish, self-centric. They believe that the key to understanding international politics is the concept of interest defined in terms of power, which we've again already talked about.
And I interrupt because we're kind of repeating ourselves, because as I said, realism consists of like 5 or 6 crucial terms that you need to know, and that is it. Like this video is really us talking about the same terms over again for 10 minutes straight, and
also don't forget that
we're still IB
we're still
learning this stuff in our lessons,
and we've just learned them. We're not experts. We're just trying to help you and help each other and help ourselves too.
And this is kind of like a cut, because we don't want to be
we don't want to be like we know this and we know everything, and then be like so just a brief cut. So continuing on, this concept of interests, they believe that even if people change, time changes, or the place changes, this concept of interests remains consistent.
And their study, and no matter what will happen in the future, like wars and stuff, human nature will be evil always, all the time. And that's just what the list claims.
So we've talked about the international anarchy, so this is basically it. They believe that there cannot be universally agreed moral principles, and if there is, which we have today, these do not really guide states' behavior, because state is more powerful. And then they believe that the political sphere is autonomous. So when you're doing something in a political area, the key question you need to ask is, how does this policy affect the power of the nation? Which is because you need to prioritize your power. And then we have, like I said in the beginning of the video, we're going to be talking about the balance of power, which is realists, of course, they believe that we are all enemies, states are all enemies, but like there should be a balance of power somehow, so that you don't always get in war with someone, you don't always get in war with other states, and this does not like actually necessarily lead to open violence.
So they primarily believe that there is no such thing as like peace and cooperation, but if there is, then this will happen via the balance of power, and that's why it is so crucial in this theory, especially.
And how is this balance of power going to work? Basically, they linked them with bipolar systems, which means that there are 2 powerful states in the international area, which is actually linked with Cold War. we're not going to be talking about that in depth.
Yes.
That's a long topic.
Maybe another video.
Yeah, but like they linked with bipolar systems. That therefore they linked Cold War with peace and a long-awaited peace actually. And post-Cold War is as an increase in instability. So they don't like that Cold War ended.
Yes, and in the Cold War, there's the thing that is like explained as MAD, which is mutually assured destruction, and it's also like a crucial term that you need to know in realist theory, because what mutually assured destruction is that there are two, as Pera said, there are two bipolar powers, and they kind of get into conflict and they destroy each other like completely, which we can see in the Cold War. And this war has no possibility to end, like, because they're mutually destructing themselves like continuously, and that is just the case.
So there are defensive and offensive realists. Basically, defensive realists think that even if there is a balance of power, there is a chance of war breaking out at any point in life, any point in time. So you need to be prioritizing security over power. While offensive realists believe that if a balance of power breaks out, you need to be prioritizing your power, because a war can break out, and security is not that important, but power is more important. They basically believe that.
Yes. So how did the realist theory ended? So it's obviously it ended because, you know, it's kind of like not that common in 21st century, we can
Yeah,
see
you
that.
don't really see it anymore.
Yes. So after the Cold War, the power of realism started to fall down like slightly due to the end of the Cold War itself, as we said it before. The increasing impact of non-state actors in international politics, the leading of globalization, and the growing significance of problems about human rights. They're like the main causes that caused realism theory to end.
Yeah, and also, as you notice, these actually impacts like the non-state actors, like leading of globalization or human rights, are linked with today's liberalism.
Yes.
So with the fall of realism post-Cold War, liberalism and other critical theories started to rise, and actually many realists linked the concepts of realism with other theories. So yeah, that's basically it.
Now that was it, I think, basically.
So this was our first video.
Yes.
So we're amateurs.
We're excited. First of all,
we're
like
very
really
excited to be doing this.
And I feel like we're not talking as good English as we do normally in this video.
Yeah,
especially.
but English is not the main point. We don't know everything.
Yes.
And
we're accepting it totally.
yeah, and we've already told you guys we're
Yes.
students.
But
We hope that this video helped you guys.
Yes.
And if you're going through like the May exams, like the exams in May right now, and you've forgotten about the first topics,
Yes.
maybe this helped you guys, and we will be very happy if you informed us so that we have the motivation. And yeah,
see you in our future videos. Bye.
bye.